Hey Maths Legends, today you're going to be able to round numbers up to and including 10,000s to their nearest hundred and thousands. Now these skill, you might have to have an eye for it, but this is going to be a skill that's going to help us in lots of different ways of mathematics. Being able to do estimates and round actually allow us to know whether or not we've got a question correct, but also to make sure that we have a little bit of an understanding of whether or not what the answer could be.
All right, let's have a look at this success now, at what it looks like. And we know there's probably four main steps that we need to do when we're going to be rounding numbers. Now, the first thing we need to be able to do is underline and identify and underline the place value that we're rounding by. So, for an example, if we're rounding to the nearest 1,000, we would need to be able to identify where the thousandth house is and put an underline underneath it. Now, we know that when we were looking at our different place values, that there is a pattern or grouping that they have of threes. So remember that little skill, and that will help you with that. Now, on the number 2, I've got, if you look at the next house along, so if we're looking at thousands, you would look at the hundreds house. So the one to the right, normally I put a box around it. But then I look at that number and I say to myself, is it 5 or more? And if it's 5 or more, I'm going to round up the number that I have underlined. So if the number I've underlined is a 5, it would then turn into a 6. However, my third step is I round down if the next place value is 4 or less. So if it's 4, 3, 2, 1, or even 0, then that number will stay the same. So for an example, if it was underlined 5, it would stay as 5. Now the last part here, and it probably needs a little bit more explanation, is I add the appropriate zeros. Now, when I end up underlining my thousands house, let's say I'm working with thousands, and I change it, I either go up or I take it down, there are 2 more houses there that I have to put zeros back in, but I'm going to show you how to do that when we start looking at our examples. Okay, you can see here I've got 3 examples for you, and we're rounding to the nearest hundred. So the first thing that I need to do is be able to identify the place value that we are rounding to. So we are rounding to the hundreds house. So I'm going to go here, underline the hundreds house, there it is. I'm then going to put a box around the next house, and that's a 3. Now my next step is to see, is it 5 or more? No. You can see that it's 3 over here, which means that I'm going to go back down. So that means that my 8 stays the same. So I'm going to write 6, and then I'm going to write 8, and I'm going to leave it the same. Now my last step talked about zeros. Now you can see that I have 2 more place values to fill up, the 10s and the 1s, and I'm going to fill them with zeros. So if I'm rounding 6,834 to the nearest 100, it's actually 6,800. Let's look at the next one. Find my hundreds house, underline it. Put a box around my next house, it's a 6. I know that 6 is greater than 5, so I can round up. So it would be 4, and then I round up to 44. 2 houses to fill with zeros, I'm going to fill them up. 4,400 or 4,400. I go to my next one, hundreds house, underline, go to my next house, I put a box around it. I know that I need to, now because it's a 9, it needs to go up. So I've got 39, I'm going to change it to 40. Add my 2 zeros from my other 2 houses, it is 4,000. That was a tricky one, because not only do I have to change the 9 in the hundreds house, but I actually have to change the thousands as well, because I have to carry over the 1 extra. Okay, so now we're going to look at rounding to 1,000. So I need to identify and underline the thousands house. So here it is here. I'm going to underline it, which is a 6. Put a box around my next house. Boom, there we go. I've done that. I know it's an 8. I need to go up. So my 6 turns into 7. I have 1, 2, 3 different houses. I'm going to put the 3 zeros in to gap fill, and I know now it's 7,000. Let's look at the next one. Find my hundreds house, a thousands house. There's my thousands. Put a box around the next one. It's a 2. I know 2 is less than 5, so I'm going to go down. So it's going to stay the same. 1, 7. Put in my 3 gap fillers. My last one, same thing. Underline my 1,000. Box around my next house. It's an 8. It goes up. So 23 turns to 24. And I put in my gap fillers to fill it up. So I know I have to put the right amount of zeros. Now you'll see that my gap fillers are 1, 2, 3 zeros. It's the same as the amount of zeros that are in 1,000. Now, here's your turn to have a go. So you're going to have a go now. I've given you two numbers. Now I want you to round in the first column, so I want you to round in here and in here to 100, and then I want you to do the same number, so this number at the first number, let me highlight that with yellow, the first numbers, I want you to do those again, but I want you to round them to 1,000 over here, please. Now remember, underline the house, box the next number, don't forget to put your zeros in. Remember, if it's 5 or more, we round up, 4 or less, we round down. Pause your video now. Okay, you're back, so let's do hundreds now. First one's a 5. Box around the next one. It's a 3. It goes down. So it's 7, 4, 5, 2 zeros. Go to the next one. Hundreds house. Box the next one. It's a 1. It goes down. So 2, 6, 2, 2 zeros. We've done both of those. I'm going to change my color so you can see. I'm going to go to a purple. I'm going to do thousands, so I'm going to underline my thousands house. It's a 4. I'm going to box my next house. It's a 5. 5 means let's go up. So 74 turns into 75. Put down my 3 zeros. My next one, underline my thousands house. Box around my next house. It's a 2. We go down. It's 26. Add my 3 zeros. Guys, you've just learned how to round. Remember those steps. Good luck, and let's hopefully you're being successful.